Mm. Ah,
Did you press record? Are,
I did. I did.
are we live on
I did.
YouTube?
We are live on the YouTube. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another lovely episode of 30 Minutes of Power, TOP, your one-stop shop for all things encouraging, motivating, and inspirational. With your girls, Nicole Salter and Jory O'Neill. Listen, people, we started something we got to finish because that's what we do this year. We finish what we start. Last time we were together with Nicole, we started a top 10 list and we only got through number five. That's not right, Nicole. That's not right. We got to get to the rest of the numbers. So here's what we're going to do. Nicole's going to run us through 6 through 10. And on the way, I'm going to share some things. There's been some new developments in the universe. And so we're going to share some stuff. We're going to get y'all some encouragement. Wanted to go live here on the YouTube. I haven't been live in a while. I'm trying to shift my identity from 9 to 5er to entrepreneur, full fledged, full time. It's been a shift. I'll tell you that. It's been a shift, uh, but a good shift. And it's pushing me out of my comfort zone and causing me to expand and grow in ways that are necessary. And so we're going to finish that top 10 list. Nicole, where did we leave off? What was our last number? Number five was what exactly? Let's do a little recap. Do recap 1 through 5, and then we're gonna jump in 6 to 10. Let's do it.
So the recap 1 through 5. The first thing was prioritize your task, right? Make sure that you're writing things down and you're putting things in order from the one you want to focus on the most to the one that doesn't really matter much. Break it down. Accomplish things in small chunks, right? You don't have to build a whole house in one day. You can start by just pouring the slab and then moving on down the list. Set a clear goal. Know exactly what you want to accomplish in the future and right now. So make sure you have everything broken down, set your clear goals, eliminate distractions. If you know you got laundry and socks all over the place and towels to wash and dishes to clean and food to cook, figure out which one is more important, right? You want to eliminate all of the distractions. Do you want to sit down and focus on your book for an hour? Or maybe an hour is too long. Maybe you want to focus on your book for 30 minutes, then go do laundry. Focus on your book for another 30 minutes, then put some rice on the stove to boil. Focus on your book for 10 minutes, go and check the rice, right? So make sure you are eliminating distractions that will stop you from doing what it is that you need to be done. Use a timer, and that goes into eliminate distractions, right? Set your timer up. If you only have 30 minutes, do that 30-minute task and then go do something else. Do that 10-minute task and then go do something else. I'm the type of person that cannot sit still. And because I cannot sit still, I have a stand up desk where I do my 30 minutes and then I run downstairs and I get some water or I make some coffee. I do my 10 minutes and then I pick up some clothes that's on the bathroom floor. I do my 10 minutes and then I go and see what toys my children left out, right? I can't sit still for too long. Sitting in front of a computer all day drives me nuts. And so using a timer, and my timer is Alexa, and she is very good at her job because she rings through the whole entire house. And so if I say, hey, remind me to do laundry in 10 minutes, she will ring in every room of the house and say, Nicole, here's your reminder. Go do laundry. Right? She is great. She's fantastic once you learn how to use her to benefit yourself. And so here we are at number 6. Practice mindfulness. Bring attention to the task that you have to complete so that your mind doesn't wander. Now, I'll give you a short story. this morning I was checking up on all of my clients, seeing who I need to talk to, seeing who I haven't spoken to in a while, seeing who closed recently, who I need to say, hey, congratulations on your new house. If you need anything, I'm here for you. And I also send out emails that gives them tips on how to maintain their new house, right? And I saw on the side of my screen, there was like an ad and it was some boots. And I was like, ooh, and there I was. And I'm clicking and I'm scrolling and maybe about like 50 boots in, right? I'm like, where are you going? Go back and finish what you were doing. So you have to make sure, and that's one of those distractions that I deal with. But you have to make sure that you are keeping your task in front of you. Try and eliminate those ads that pop up all the time. Sometimes it's impossible to eliminate ads, especially when you're dealing with free products, right? But you can try your hardest to eliminate those things, even if it means that you have to write down what you have to do. So that way, when you get distracted, after you look at the 50th pair of boots, right? You say, hello, what are we doing? You go back to the paper. Oh, yes, this is what we're doing. There's no, oh man, I don't remember what we're doing. I done forgot what I was focused on. What do I do now? All right, let me go back to the distraction. No, let's cut that out. We're going to write down whatever it is that we have to pay attention to right now so that our mind can stay on it and we can check it off the box and say, done, good and faithful servant, and move on, right? Limit multitasking is number 7. This is very hard for me.
Before you go to number 7, I wanna
Before I go to
give some
number 7.
practicals. I want to get some practicals.
Okay.
So a lot of people, and it's just a fact. A lot of people, they have an asphyxiation with this thing called the cell phone.
Oh,
Um, and if it's not the screen, if it's not the computer screen, if it's not 75 things popping up, then it's definitely the cell phone. It's the notifications, it's the
yep.
dings, it's the lights, it's the blings, it's the if it doesn't matter what phone you have. I have an Android. Every
Uh,
phone has a focus mode.
yep.
That focus mode is gold. If you set that focus mode up between a certain time, you will not get notifications. You will not get the lights. You will not get the dings and the blings you can't even go on the app during that focus mode time. So even if you wanted to be like, oh, what's on Facebook? You can't even go on there. You got to take focus mode off and they're going to ask you 75 different prompts. Are you sure you want to do this? How long do you want to do this for? How about only for 5 minutes? Do you only want to open this app? What about the other apps that you close? And all of those are to help you stay focused.
Okay.
So I just want to throw that out there because I know some people they're like, well, I don't shop online. You don't shop, but you TikToking, you
Very.
Facebooking, you LinkedInning, Instagramming, maybe you twitting and tweeting
Mhm.
and threading,
Yep. All of
right?
the things.
Or Snapchatting,
All the things.
all the things. There is a way to stay focused if you use and utilize technology properly. That's all I'm gonna say. That's it, and that's all.
You are absolutely correct. There are distractions come in many different forms. I'm actually shocked my children haven't run into the room that I'm in right now because I did not lock the door. So distractions are always around, no matter how much you try to avoid it, how much you try to prepare for it, they are always there. So you definitely have to make sure that you are cutting them out as much as possible and staying focused on your task, right? Number 7 is limit multitasking. Now, this is very hard for me because, again, I like to move around. I'm not the type of person that just sits in one place, right? And so, switching between tasks is how I get my task done. But I'll tell you this, it'll take me 3 hours to get my task done because I have to do it in 30-minute chunks. It'll take you, someone that likes to sit in front of a computer for an hour and just focus, it'll take you an hour to finish that project. Whichever one is for you, it's for you. None of them are wrong. You just have to make sure you choose the right method and do it effectively. If switching between tasks is something that's going to keep you awake, help you stay focused, get smaller chunks done, and make sure that by the end of it, you have the big goal completed, then that's great. If focusing on something for a long period of time until you finish it is for you, guess what? That's great because you are finding yourself, you are doing what is best for you, right? Me, the only time I can focus my energy on completing one thing before I move to the next is if I'm cleaning. When I am cleaning my house, I focus my energy on one room at a time. And even when I go into that room, if I don't want to do it, it is very hard. So I focus my energy on picking up one thing at a time or cleaning one corner at a time, right? But for me, it's great because I'm still moving. I can pull a 24-hour day and clean my house and be okay with it. I cannot pull a 24-hour day in front of a computer. It is not happening. Okay. So sometimes you have to limit multitasking. Sometimes multitasking works.
So, I mean, there's brain science behind multitasking and the mental energy that it pulls and sucks from you as you continue to shift from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. Lowers your ability your mental energy, and then it increases your cognitive load. So there's a lot of brain science behind multitasking. So I would say do the thing that is most effective and efficient for the whole day, for the whole family. That's what I would say. Um, Today I was a work from home day. I had to be on meetings this morning. I wake up about 5 in the morning. Um, the initial task, the icebreaker was, what did you do this morning? How's your morning been? What did you uh and people were like, "Oh, I got the kids ready and I made coffee and then I turned on my computer." And then someone else was like, "I had a late night last night, so I'm just waking up." And they're like, "What did you do, Jory?" And I'm like, "I don't want to tell you what I did because you're going to think that I don't know, but I'll go for it." And so I told them what I did. I said I woke up at 5. I had my prayer. I had my meditation. I read the Bible. I finished Genesis, moved into Exodus, got a little bit of Leviticus in, read Psalms. I did my exercise, 20 minutes of exercise, used upper body today. I told them everything I did before 8 o'clock, before this 8 o'clock meeting. And it was a lot. Wrote in my journal, overviewed my calendar, applied for like 5 different consulting roles. Like, they were like, it's 8. Like, what did you? And I'm like, there was no computer on. There was no phone. There was no electronic technology to distract me. I turned on my phone. I have my LinkedIn app is allowed to come on until I think 8 or 9. And then after that it shuts off. But I do that for me, that's my focus time. That's high energy, high perform like woo, that's the sacred time right there. That 5 to 8, it's beautiful. Um, and then I sat in a meeting. And the meeting was about February. And for some of you who don't know, if this is your first time checking us out on YouTube, I have just resigned from my full-time teaching job. I'm going full-time entrepreneur. So writing, speaking, coaching, consulting, all the good things. Um, and so there was nothing for me to contribute to this meeting about what's happening in February because I'm like, I'm not gonna be working there in February.
Right.
So I was like, all right. I tried to stay like present, alert, but I'm off on the side doing this other thing, and the switching back and forth for me, About time 2 o'clock came around, my brain was tired. I was like, oh man, it's only 2 o'clock. Feels like 7 p.m. at night. Oh man, 7 p.m. at night. We doing 30 minutes of so I might need a nap in this piece. Um, so yeah, so it is not beneficial for me to do the shifting back and forth, this screen, that screen going. It's not. I love doing deep work, deep focused work, get it done, get it over with, move on to the next. That's been working for me for the last 2 years. I tried the multitasking thing today. I don't like it.
Wasn't it?
It
Wasn't it?
wasn't because I'm not doing like menial tasks. Like I'm not doing email or you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I'm creating offers. I'm sifting through data to figure out like which of my offers are the most profitable. Where should I pivot in my business? Where should I shift? What's my revenue looking like so far this month? What do I need to do to hit my monthly goal? Like I actually have to think and like think hard and forecast and all this stuff. I can't do that back. It hurts. So I think I would preface multitasking with it depends on what the activity is. Like if I'm folding clothes, I will put on a podcast or listen to an audiobook or even watch a show, right? Because it's folding clothes. It's not right. It's not a large mental load that I
Right,
need. It's
right.
not a big lift. But things that are just like we just putting this here, putting this there, like almost like memorization. I guess that would technically be multitasking, or maybe it's habit stacking.
Right.
Mm, habit stacking.
Could be happy.
That's a whole nother conversation. Let's go ahead, girl. Number 8. Go ahead. Habit stacking. Oh, I love that.
We are now up to celebrating the small wins. And so this I had to learn because I am not used to celebrating myself. And it took me a long time as a real estate agent to celebrate myself and a closing. It took me a long time to learn how to celebrate that. And so after finally getting it, it was like, oh, this is what it feels like, and then I was able to acknowledge what I did in order to get to that space. I was also able to um, motivate myself to keep going, right? Keep doing the things that I did for me to get the clients and keep the clients happy and make sure that the clients were comfortable with working with me, make sure that they gained my trust. Then I had to figure out what to do to get them to refer me, right? And so celebrating myself gave me that time to reflect on those things so that I can keep going. So make sure you're celebrating yourself. Make sure you're celebrating the small wins that you have. Whether it's cleaning a room, getting a new client, finishing up a project, whatever it is, make sure you celebrate yourself. Number 9, set boundaries. This is very hard for me. I am not good at saying no. Saying no to additional tasks that can interfere with your focus is a good thing. Delegating tasks to people that work for you, people that are around you is a good thing. Being a part of the PTA, I had to learn how to do those things because I did not know how to do them. And so my second year around, I was like, you know what? This is what you wanted to do. When you said you wanted to be a part of the PTA with us, you said you wanted to do volunteers. Guess what? You are in control of all of the volunteers. I am not touching them. Do not ask me any questions. If you need me to volunteer, I'll see if I'm available. But I'm not scheduling it. I'm not hosting it. I'm not doing it. I had to give it to someone else because you get burnt out when you have everything on you. So learning to say no is a very, very, very good thing? Go
The
ahead. I see you ready. I see the eyes turning like, oh my gosh.
well, so no is a complete sentence.
Okay.
I, I'm saying that out loud because I want you to hear it because I feel like sometimes you have a no and then you have this soliloquy at the end of the no that explains all the reasons why the person shouldn't hate you, shouldn't like you any less, shouldn't defriend you, right? Like, um, but no is fine. No one needs an explanation. Sometimes it's more energy, and sometimes that is also encroaching your boundary when
Yes.
you give them an explanation after you said no. No is suffice. It will suffice every time. No. And we're moving on. Um, Boundaries are super important. A friend of mine was like, "Hey, I got a invite for your kid's birthday, but there's a different number than yours." I was like, "Yeah," because she sent the invite to people who I don't need my real number to get to. Like, I'm not. Everybody don't need my number. Everybody don't need my number. They just don't. And so I was like, yeah, that's the business number. She's like, oh, were you screening your calls? Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, I am not yet where I desire to be financially, but I'm putting the pieces in place now so that when I am, it's not new. Like I'm not new to this. Like we've been moving like this. This is not new. These movements are not new. So the way I show up, things that I'm doing now, the things that I consume, things I read, places I'm not going anymore. I think that should probably be number 11. I don't know what number 10 is, but number 11 should be start moving in the energy that you want to live in. Like if you wait until after I get more money or after I get more time or after I lose this weight, like when you think that's going to happen? It don't work if you don't work it. So none of that's gonna happen. Like none of that's gonna come to pass if you don't move and make it happen. And if you don't start living like it, when it does come, you ain't gonna know what to do with it. People are like, oh, when I get money. The way you moving now, when you get money, you gonna still be broke because you don't know how to handle it. Oh, when I get success. Oh, when my YouTube channel blow up. Oh, when my TikTok account. When, okay, cool. I love the win. But when it happens, will you be ready for it? When success comes knocking, will you be equipped to open the door? That's all I'm saying. That's it, and that's all.
I don't know how many people will be equipped if they do not practice it now. And that's the important part. The important part is making sure that you practice those things now instead of later. Like I met someone at a birthday party that Christopher was invited to, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so excited. My husband, when he first started, he was, when he's a pilot." And she said when he first started, he was on probation, and after his probation is up, he's going to get triple his salary. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that is so great." Two things happened, right? In that very moment. The first thing that happened was she was like, "Thank you for being happy for me." And I was like, "Oh, what kind of friends you got?" And then the second thing that happened was she was like, "I don't know what to do with all of that money. I don't even know how I'm going to feel. I don't know how I'm going to react." And I was like, "Ooh, we need some new habits." Right? Because when we start to think that way, we start to think, what can I buy? Where can I go? What can I get? Right? And it's that your mind is like the hardest thing to keep in check. Your mind can be the hardest thing to keep in check because everywhere we go we see the shine and we see the stars and we see the bling, and it's like, I want this and I want that and I all the time. And I don't think I realized it until I had gotten upset at my kids one day because they just kept saying, "I want, I want, I want, I want." And then I went on my computer and that little shiny ad was popping, right? And I was like, "Ooh, I want." Oh, I don't want. I need to stop. Right? Because we always want the shiny things. We always want what's new and what's available. And this Christmas, my daughter says, Mommy, I want a pair of Jordans because she's in the third grade and people are like, You don't have Jordans? And I said, All right, once a year, I can figure out how to get you Jordans, right? You won't get this year's Jordans. Just know that. They might be Jordans from 7 years ago, 10 years ago. They'll be Jordans. You'll be happy. My limit on Jordans for my children is $50. That's it. If it's any more than that, it's not happening. You're not getting it. My limit for myself on Jordans is $50. Now Jamel got boats, right? He don't have feet. He got boats. His limit is a little higher. However, right? If this sneakers is something they need, Jordans is a want, sneakers is a need, right? We'll figure out how to make them come together and how to make them fit in the budget, right? And that is something, even if you win lotto for $1 billion today, you still have to know your budget because, honey, that $1 million or that $1 billion can go very quickly. And you will turn around
That
and be
billion gonna
like,
turn
what
into a
happened?
thousand. That billion gonna turn into 1,000 real quick.
And I have seen it happen, sadly. I have seen it happen with people that buy houses cash. And then before you know it, they're like, oh, I need to sell my house because I don't have any more money and I can't afford this mortgage. And it's like, how did you get a mortgage? We bought this cash. You know? So it can happen. You definitely have to make sure that you set those boundaries and you keep to your budget. I don't know how we got on budget, but you definitely have to make sure
Maybe
that
that
you're
should be
setting
number
those
12.
boundaries, not stressing yourself out, not being the only one that does everything. And finally, we are at number 10. Number 10 is reflect and adjust. We all make mistakes. Nothing, nothing ever goes as planned, right? The saying is, we plan and God laughs. Right? We can plan. I mean, even my wedding, right? I had the most awesome wedding planner. We planned it down to the day. And I can list 10 things that went wrong at my wedding, and it was over 15 years ago. Okay. Things will always go wrong. What do we do? Do we freak out? Do we quit? Do we stop? No, you reflect on what happened and you adjust to it. You know, you don't just throw it in the garbage. You figure out how to fix it so that you can move on the next day. You can move on the next week, the next month, the next year. You figure out how you can make yourself better. Being an entrepreneur is not easy. I remember when I first became a realtor and I was driving for about an hour and a half hours a day. And I would come home, and that was one way. So I'm driving an hour and a half one way, and then I got to drive an hour and a half back home, and I got to deal with kids, and I got to deal with parents, and I got to deal with a husband. And not that those things are stressful, but when you're already stressed up to here, those things are stressful. Okay. um it's hard when you have to do all of those things. And so I would come home and I would cry. I would cry to my partner and I would cry to myself and I would cry to my mom. I didn't cry to my husband because I didn't want him to know how I was feeling so that he can tell me don't do it anymore, just so that I can be happy, right? I needed to learn how to work with it. And so I decided, listen, I'm going to deal with only working in my area for now. And that means that I'll be going out less, I'll be meeting less people. But it was the best decision I ever made for myself. Reflecting on how much time and gas and wear and tear on my car it took made me realize that if I stayed home, I'd be saving the money that I was spending to try and meet people, and the people that I was meeting weren't even ready to buy a house. So I had to reflect, right? Do I really want to drive all the way across town? No. If I don't drive across town, what am I going to do here? I had to adjust myself to make more phone calls, be more bold. I am not the type of person that will go to a grocery store and just start talking to you and asking you if you want to buy a house. No. When I go to the grocery store, I want to shop and I want to go home. That's it. I don't want to talk. I don't want you talking to me and asking me if I need ADT or if I need to buy a house or if I need insurance or if I need. No, I need whatever is in this aisle, or I'm walking through this aisle because there was too many people in the next aisle. One or the other. I do not need anyone stopping me to ask me about anything else aside from what's in this grocery store. And so what I did to get away from that is I started making t-shirts and sweatshirts that had different real estate sayings on them. I made one. I have like 5 for Christmas. I have 2 for Valentine's Day now. I still have to make another one. And as the months come, I just sit on my phone and I make new designs while I'm during my downtime. And when I'm ready, I print them out and I make a new shirt. And so when you see me, you see my shirt and you look at my shirt and you say, "Oh, you're a realtor. Oh, it's working." Yes, I am. Right. So I had to reflect and adjust on what it is that suited my life in order for me to be peaceful and be happy. And if you don't reflect and adjust your life to what will keep you peaceful and happy, you will always be miserable. And that is something you don't want.
I love that. I think I'm in a season of reflecting and adjusting now. And it's causing a lot of inner ickies. That's that's the best word I could use for it. Inner ickies right now, because I'm I think I'm like taking stock in the things that I valued. I'm taking stock in the things that I held of importance. I'm taking stock in the relationships that I invested in. I'm taking stock in the things that I invested. I'm sitting and I'm like, wow, you really have to do some shifting. A lot of shifting has to happen. And it doesn't have to happen all like in a day,
Correct.
right? But the reflection is super important. And so my success coach, she always says, if you don't pause, you won't be able to propel.
Mm.
So the pausing, for me right now is hard because I'm like, but I gotta ramp up stuff. I gotta give me a nice little, drip of clientele coming in, and I'm like, no, we need to pause. And after we pause and get some clarity, boom, then we can propel. We can come out the gate with tons of momentum. I love that. I love that. This actually reminds me of every self-help book I've ever read. Ev- like the Tony Robbins and the Dean Graciosis and the Mel Robbins and the Rachel Rodgers and all of them. Um, but if that many humans who are doing that well financially in their business, not only are they creating revenue, but they're also helping other people create revenue. Um, if these are things that they practice and they live by, must be some to them.
Must be
Must be some to them.
them. You know what? It's a lifestyle change, right? We are always going through something. I was looking at, oh no, I had asked my husband, like, why is it that we did somewhat watch, what's the vampire series? Oh man, now I can't think of it. I can't think of it now. Walking Dead. We did watch a little bit of Walking Dead, and I said to him, how come we never really got into the follow-up series that they had for everyone else? And he says, how many times are you going to watch these people chasing vampires and dead people? How many times are we going to see them fighting other folks so that they can live? How many times are we going to see them being in survival mode, right? They it there's always a period of adjustment. That's life. And sometimes with entertainment, you don't want life. Right? But in thinking about that show and the spin-offs, there's always a period of adjustment. After you fight these people off, guess what? There's another set of people coming that you got to fight off. And guess what? You fought one and you fought two. Now you know how to fight three better than you did these two. And by the time you get to 10, you're just walking around slicing everybody up. Right? You slicing it up. Now you dancing while you slicing it. And now you're having a good time doing something where in the beginning it was a stressful thing to do. So starting a business, you are always, always, always going to have something that throws you off course. What are you going to do to get back on course? You're going to reflect and you're going to adjust. That might have been the most important one out of them all.
I think so. You said something just now, um, about the vampire zombie people. You said that most of the show is them in survival mode. And I think that's how most of us spend most of our lives,
We do.
in survival mode. And when we're trying or when we're pushed or when we have to come out of survival mode and start expanding, start growing, start thriving, it is so uncomfortable. It feels like shedding skin. Like it feels like butterfly metamorphosis, snake coming out of the old, stepping into the new. It feels unnatural, like pouring new wine into old wineskins. Like I can give you a whole bunch of biblical examples. I
But you
it
know
just
what, Tori?
the
It
discomfort.
is. It is all of those things. Because when you do all of those things, you're getting better, right? When you pour, when a snake sheds its skin, it's old skin that's leaving, right? You getting rid of the dead weight, you getting rid of the old stuff so that the new can take over. And that
Mm,
is a process that will constantly happen in your life. If you are not losing old skin, it's a problem. Nothing is changing.
mm,
You're not going anywhere. You know, this if you
mm,
are not learning, you're so funny. If
mm.
you are not learning, if you are not improving, my husband was listening to a podcast and it said, I forget the name of the person, but I'm going to use you as an example. It said Jory did not fail 10 times. She learned how to win 10 different ways. Jory did not fail 10 times. She learned how to win 10 different ways. The only time you fail is when you give up.
Mm.
The only time you fail is when you give up.
Okay.
And now, granted, there's some things that you have to drop so that you can grow in other areas, right? That is not a fail. That is a move. You are moving in another direction. You are not giving up on your dreams. You are not giving up on your goals, but you are dropping the dead weight. You are shedding the skin that was holding you back, and you are
Mm. Ooh, girl.
forward
What a
to make
word.
life happen.
Ooh, what a word,
So
Nicole. What
those
a
things are
word.
supposed to happen. And I like the word that you used. It gives you that icky feeling. Guess what? That icky feeling lets you know that you're that much closer to where you want to be. Right? And our
Mm.
goals always switch. We have a 10K a month goal, right? What you think we're gonna have that goal next year? We ain't gonna have that goal next year because once we hit that goal, Especially when and notice I'm saying once we hit and when we hit, right? That your mindset is a big thing. When you start letting those ifs come in, that's when you start feeling like it's time to quit, right? But when you change the words that you use, you change your attitude, you change your posture, you change the way you move. And so when we hit our goals, they're not going to stay where they are, especially when we hit them consistently. When we start to hit those goals consistently, it's going to be like, oh, we've been here for a minute. It's time to learn something new. It's time to
It's time to go to
people.
50 a
It's
month.
time to go higher.
Time to
You
go to
know?
50 a month. We gonna skip 25. Let's just go to 50.
Exactly. Exactly. So that icky feeling, that's something that you need to get used to because that means it's coming. It's happening. I'm moving. I'm shaking. I'm making it work.
And I receive all that. I receive all of it in Jesus' name. I receive it. Girl, you preaching the word tonight. Woo!
Right now,
I'm glad I'm
very
having
first time.
my own personal disco over here. I'm happy.
Right now, this is my very first time doing a deal where I am helping my clients not only buy a house, but fix it up at the same time. And so we
About
set
time.
the whole
About time. You
process.
are a dope house flipper. I'm like, what? This makes so much sense. Like this is all in your lane.
It is. It is. And I mean, the things that I learned, the things that we do, it is just phenomenal. Like talking with, I met an architect, I met an appraiser. I've met so many people along the way. I met an engineer, which I mean, first starting, I didn't think I would ever meet an engineer. I met an engineer and he was from Jamaica. And I was like, oh my gosh, we need to have dinner because you need to come and speak to my son. My son wants to be an engineer and I need you to pour into his life. And so that's on the to-do list. That is on the to-do list for him to pour into their lives, right? And so it's there's just so much that I learn and I have that feeling, that icky feeling that you said when I'm talking to these people because I'm like, I hope I sound like I know what I'm talking about, right? And so I have to
Well, you
go
do.
and do a little research. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about, but to me, like these are people that have been in the profession 20, 30, 40 years. So I'm like, man, I got to make sure that I can keep up with them. This is year 4 for me.
Yeah, I think,
You
but
know,
it's
so I
not
get
though.
that
It's
icky
not.
feeling
It's not you.
sometimes.
Yo, Nicole, check
But
my
listen,
face.
here's the thing. I get the icky feeling, right? I make sure my icky feeling does not hinder me, but it makes me go and learn what I need to learn to stay in the game.
But you've been in the game.
I have been, but now I'm in a totally different ballpark because this is a whole new loan that I don't know, neither does the loan officer. So both of us are constantly researching and learning new things to make sure that we see this through. And the selling agent is always like, are you sure this is going to work? Are you sure this is going to work? And I look at him and I'm like, listen, we've been in this since Christmas. We gonna see this through. There is no I hope so. There is no maybe. No, no, no. What you need, I'm gonna figure it out and we're gonna push it through. That's it. That's it. There is no I don't think this is gonna happen, or maybe it will, maybe it won't, or yes, God will lead the way, right? But it's not a I hope God leads the way. No, it's God, you gonna lead the way. And you're gonna show us how to push this through. And we gonna get it done. You know?
I like this energy. Give me more of this energy. I'm a pull it through the screen. Yes, I love this energy. Um, woo,
Woo!
we said a lot.
He did.
This is good. This is good. I was feeling icky when I got on the call. I can't say I still don't feel icky, but the icky has been now replaced with hope. So I feel icky hopeful.
Hopefully icky.
Hopefully icky, yes. That's where I am right now. If we're not dying, then we're not growing.
If we're
That's something that a mentor of mine used to tell me 20 years ago. And this was in reference to when God was calling us higher, when God was calling us into abundance, when God was calling us to greater territory, um, to positions of leadership. She would say, if you're not dying, you're not growing. And I think in this instance, dying is dying to those old habits, those old mindsets, and maybe even some of the old relationships that we've yoked with because what got us here won't get us there, boo boo.
nope. And
What
you know,
got us here won't get us there.
more than ever now, do I realize how important relationships are, because relationships can definitely make a big difference in your life. They can bring you up or they can pull you down. And when I was celebrating this woman at this party, this was my first day meeting her. I did not know her name. Um, I kind of figured out who her child was because she kept coming up and asking for praises. So I figured out who her child was, but this was my very first time seeing her. And I was rejoicing with her. And it had nothing to do with me. She wasn't paying me. We weren't friends. She wasn't giving any money to me to be happy for her. And when I said, "Oh my goodness, that is great," she looked at me like, "Why are you so happy?" Like, and and to me, I'm like, "You, no one's ever said that to you? Like, you don't you don't have friends that are happy for you, you know?"
Might not. She
She
might
might
not.
not.
I'm going through a list of
That is
humans.
the sad part.
I'm going through a list of humans right now and just seeing my what my relationships were like last year, seeing how I felt after I spent time with them. Did I feel drained? Did I feel energized? Was it reciprocal, right? Was I always pouring into them? Was there a point where they poured into me? Um, at the end of the interaction, did I feel used?
Mhm. Mhm.
And to be honest with you, I'm not liking what I'm coming up with. I'm not liking the responses that I'm getting. And this is just an internal audit. Like I'm doing a friendship audit end of the year.
Mhm.
And I'm like, dang, I'm
Mhm.
running out of friends. Like I thought I
It
had a pretty decent network of humans, but even when I share my plans, when I share my vision, when I share my goals, the response, it's almost like projection. They are projecting their fears, their insecurities, their doubts. They're projecting it. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, no, you keep that over there. I don't want none of that. Blah, blah, blah. Like I'm blocking the doubts. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I'm playing Hong Kong Fooey with the doubts. And I'm like, yo, like, what are you? I'm like, okay, don't listen. I made the mistake once. Never again. I will never share my dreams and goals with you. If you aren't in a space where you can receive what I'm saying, if you can respond the way you did to the stranger with excitement, with rejoicing, with belief, like, oh, yo, absolutely, you're gonna crush that. You're gonna do that. It's gonna be great. Um, I remember I shared that I was leaving education with one woman and we try to do some business together, try to collaborate some stuff. Never panned out. And I shared it with her and she was like, "What you doing that for? And how come you ain't tell me?" I was like, "Whoa. Whoa. Whoa." Like, nah, Nah, there's something there. That's
Yeah.
on you. That's for you to deal with. Ain't got nothing to
Yeah.
do with me. That's for you to deal with. That
Yeah.
response was very telling. Oh my. Um, so now I'm just like I tread lightly, like how's it going? It's going great. I'm not telling you no details. No, no, no. Mm-mm. Not gonna happen to me again. No, no way.
I
Um,
mean, you have to. You definitely have to make sure that you are protecting your mind, right? Because that's how the devil works, you know? When you go to someone and you have this great idea that you want to run with and they start putting these doubts and fears in your head, those doubts and fears play on you.
oh yeah,
They
absolutely.
play on you, they play in your head, and by the time you wake up in the morning, you're like, yeah, no. You know, my real estate partner, anytime he does something, I say to him, okay, I like the fact that you want to do this. Don't make a haste decision. Sleep on it. And so one morning he said, you know what? This is what I'd like to do. And I said, are you sure? Because we had this conversation and that wasn't where your head was before. That wasn't what you thought benefited your life yesterday. And he said, you know what? I slept on it. I spoke to my wife about it. She's in agreement with me. And this is how we want to move. And I said, you know what? If you slept on it and your wife is in agreement with you, then you go for it. Right? There is no, oh, I think you should do it my way. Or I don't think that's a good look. No, I ask him all of the serious questions that he needs to think about. You know, at one point he would go on Facebook and talk about all of his bad experiences. And I said to him, listen, it's a lot of people watching you. It's a lot of people watching you. Got to be careful with what you're saying. You got to be careful with how you're saying. I understand you are upset. You drove for 2 hours. They stood you up. They didn't show up. I get it. I understand truly because we're in the same business. I get it. But here's the thing. You can't harp on the negative that's in it. You get there, you do what you have to do, you make your video, you get your name out, you let everybody see the positive attitude that you have and you go about your business. Don't wallow in that negativity. Don't do it. You know, and at first he was like, "Nah, this is who I am. This is what I'm going to do." And then he woke up the next morning and he's like, "Nick, you know what? You're right. You're right. It just takes so much energy out of you being negative and focusing on that negativity. There's so many other things that I can do when I have a positive attitude. I can
Yep,
focus on getting new clients and moving
yep.
things, pushing things through. Yes, you can. You know, there's people that are upset with us because of the different things that we're doing. And he's like, "Oh, I want to go on Facebook and I want to talk about them." And I said, "Listen, your growth and your positivity and your movement and the love that you show on Facebook will piss them off.
Mm,
You don't have to give in to them. You don't have to talk to them. You keep being your successful self and
amen.
will get them upset by itself. Don't feed into them. There's
The
no need.
Bible says, by doing good deeds for people who treat you wrong, you are throwing heaps of hot coals on their head.
And that is so true. Because the more good that you do, the worse they feel and the more they want to come and try and get you to the point where you do enough good and they back off.
I was watching during the LinkedIn session I had this morning when I was applying for some consultant gigs. There was a video that played where this man was on the bus reading the Bible and had a sign that said Jesus loves you. And this young guy grabbed the sign and threw it on the ground and started yelling and cursing at the man. And the man just picked up the sign and the young man knocked it out of his hand again. And the man picked up the sign again and started reading the Bible and started telling the young man, like, God loves you. And he's like, no, there's no God. He says, there's a God, and God loves you so much. And the young man smacked him across his face. And this old man, he turns and he says, eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. You do me wrong. My response is to turn the other cheek. He says, now bless the right one. And he turns his head for the young man to smack him on the other side of his face. And at this point, the other people, they're on a public bus. The other people stand up like, hold on, like, don't hit that man.
Mhm.
And the old man, he's just like, hit me. He's like, you bless me on one side, you gotta bless me on the other. And
Mhm.
the young man sits down and he's looking at him like, this guy's crazy. I don't know, something's wrong with this guy. And the old man stands the young man up, grabs his shoulder, and says, hit me. I need you to hit me. He says, because I can take the pain. Because Jesus took the pain. Jesus took the pain for you, and for you, he goes around the bus and he's saying, Jesus took the pain for everybody. He's like, so your hit, your smack is nothing compared to what Jesus does for you. And Jesus loves you so much. And the young man finally broke down. He started telling them about how he was praying to God for his grandfather's health, and his grandfather didn't make it, and how he just feels like God abandoned him. And it led to a whole discourse. And again, the man was holding the Bible open the entire time. And he sat down with him and started showing him the word of God. And my thought when I watched it was just like, how often do I get bent out of shape
Mhm.
by just small instances or small inconsiderations?
Right.
Am I out here Bible toting, getting smacked across the face for preaching the good news of Christ? Are people really defaming me and hurting me? Like, are they really? Nah, not really.
Mm.
And I think part of this shift that's happening for me also is understanding that while, yes, I do desire to become a millionaire, yes, I will say it out loud again and again. Um, I really want to see souls won for Jesus. And I'm trying to make them both make sense.
Right.
I feel like the more financial status I have, right, the more good I can do in the world. Like, I wholeheartedly believe that, but I don't want to get lost along the way. You know what I mean? Like, I don't
Right.
want to throw away my morals and my values or forget why I'm here, what I was
Mhm.
positioned to do.
Right.
I I think I'm a pretty dope writer. And for me to stay in the lane that I'm in is not because I can't write about anything else. I don't write about Jesus. I don't write about God. I don't write about self-improvement and self-development and self-help, and I don't write about those things because I can't write about anything else. I write about those things because for me, those are the only things that matter.
Correct.
And so part of the ickies I'm feeling are trying to take these two identities. I have boiled down all the other stuff. Like we've got rid of teacher, we've put a backseat to the mama. Like all these, none of these other identities are really like competing with me right now, except entrepreneur and Christian. And I'm really, it's a tough task in my brain right now to just like
Mhm.
marry them and make them make sense where I am putting myself out there, but I'm not turning people off from Jesus.
Right.
If nothing else, I want them to be like, oh, snap, she did what? How? What? Whoa, she did all that with God? Oh, wow. Right? Like, and that shouldn't be the motivation for somebody wanting a relationship with God, but if that's the carrot that gets them in the door, if that's the carrot that'll open the Bible, if that's the carrot that'll make them come to a church event, I'm a dangle that carrot all day long.
Mhm. Yep.
You call me Bugs Bunny because I'm a dangle that carrot all day long. Um. So yeah. So that's where I am. That's the space that I'm in and navigating it. So those of you who are listening right now, what is your opinion? What are your thoughts? I would love to hear some feedback, some input concerning what identity do you have right now, or what identity are you operating in that you feel is in conflict with your future you, right? Like the glow up you. People using that phrase a lot, glow up. Do you feel like your current identity is in conflict with your future identity? I would love to hear from you, know the answer to that question. And I want to thank those of you who've been rocking out with us for the last 2 years and just say thank you. Um, there are a lot of different podcasts, a lot of different shows on the internet, and there are a lot of different spaces and places you can give your time to. And the fact that you rock with us, we are grateful. We don't take that for granted. But if you believe that this podcast is in any way, shape, or form helped you along your journey to be encouraged, motivated, and inspired to take action, to be an empowered person, to use your power to empower others, please share it with another human. Just click the little link, share this podcast with somebody else who you think will benefit from it. We love to hear back from you. Go ahead and review us on Spotify, on Apple, or whichever platform you listen to podcasts on. And pretty please go ahead and keep subscribing to the channel. We love to see the channel grow. We've grown by a quarter since the beginning of this year. So that's been super encouraging. We've almost doubled our subscriber count. And again, we couldn't do that without you.
Right.
So as we land the plane, Nicole, give us one last parting word before we wrap it up.
Remember to always keep your mind focused on your goals. Keep your mind focused on your goals. Keep your goals at the forefront. Do them joyfully. Do your tasks unto God, and it will work out. It will all fall into place. I think the most important thing that we said tonight was make sure that you are reflecting and adjusting, because life is always going to throw you a curveball. And if you don't know how to reflect and adjust, you will break down. Reflect, adjust, and make it happen. Nicole Salter, Jory O'Neill. It's supposed to be 30 minutes of power, but we were definitely here feeding you guys all of this info for a lot longer. We love you. We thank you for hanging out with us.